How do you stop leaning over when you walk? If you feel like you walk stooped over and you'd like to be able to walk more upright, then this video is for you. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Candy, and in this video, I'm going to explain why people tend to walk more stooped over as they age, 3 exercises that you can do to help you walk more upright, plus 3 additional tips that you can use in order to be able to improve your gait when walking, walk with less pain, and decrease your fall risk. Now, if you find this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We help people to stay active, mobile, and healthy without relying on pain medications, injections, or surgeries. So first of all, why do people tend to walk stooped over as they age? Well, as you age, your back, and particularly your lower back, loses tolerance to standing up like this. It jams the joints in your lower back together. It narrows the spaces where the nerve roots go down to your legs. And so if you have degenerative disc disease or spinal stenosis, you may notice that you can't stand or walk for very long periods of time, or you feel like you have to kind of walk stooped over or lean on a grocery cart in order to be able to walk for longer periods of time. And people do that because it decreases pain. When you stand up like this and jam the joints in your lower back together or pinch on the nerves, it hurts. And so your body finds ways to get out of pain. You just naturally do that to decrease the pain. But it doesn't look really good, and it makes you look like you're getting old. And a lot of people really don't like that. In fact, their kids a lot of times will tell them to stand up and walk taller. But you really don't want to force standing up and walking taller like that because it jams the joints in your back and pinches on the nerves. So how do you stand upright and walk taller without pinching the nerves in your lower back? Well, largely it comes from 2 areas, and neither of those are your lower back. That people will tend to walk forward like this because it relieves the pain, but their hip flexors are tight in this position. And so if your hip flexors are stiff, it makes it hard for you to stand up taller. And as a result, people will either end up arching more from their lower back, or they just walk slumped over. Now, another area that people often don't think about is their shoulders and their upper back. That when you round out like that in your upper back, you're looking relatively more down. And so if you spend your career working at a desk with hunched shoulders and a forward head posture like that, and you develop stiffness up here, well, as you go to walk, you will naturally tend to want to stand up to see where you're going. But when you do that from the lower back, then it ends up pinching nerves and joints in your lower back. And so really, to stand upright and walk taller, you want to improve your extension from your upper back and from your hips. So the way that you do that, the first exercise to improve how upright you walk is stretching your hip flexor muscles. Your hip flexors actually attach to the front of your spine, and they pull you into an extended position like that, and also pull your pelvis forwards. So your choices, if you have stiff hip flexors, are either to walk bent over like that, to arch your back, which hurts, or to kind of bend your knees and walk like Steve Urkel. And none of those are good, so you ideally want to get the hip flexors stretched out so you can get your foot behind you when you take a step by moving at the hip instead of moving at the back. So to stretch your hip flexors, the easiest way, especially for people who may have some arthritis in their knees, is just to do it in a standing semi-lunge position like this, where you roll your pelvis underneath of you, flatten your lower back out, and then push your hips forward just till you feel a stretch in the front of the hip or the front of the thigh. And then hold that position for about 30 seconds or a minute. If you do have some balance problems, you can hold on to something as you're doing that to give you a little more stability. If you have your feet really close together, that makes you a little bit more tippy side to side. If you spread your feet out wider that way, it gives you a little better base of support. Again, roll your hips underneath of you, push your hips forward, and you should feel a stretch in the front part of that hip. So that's the first exercise to improve your hip flexor flexibility and help you stand more upright from your hips instead of from your lower back. The second exercise is sitting in a chair to improve your upper back flexibility. Now, if you just try to straighten your back, it's most likely that you'll extend from this area down here at your lower back. The way that your spine is naturally shaped, it's in an S-shaped curve where it's rounded with the convex side backwards in your upper back and the convex side forwards in your lower back. And so it's easier to extend or come upright through the lower back, but you don't want to do that excessively because that, again, starts to pinch on the nerves that go down into your legs. So to lock out your lower back, lean forward in a chair and bring your rib cage down towards your thighs. Then to come upright, either cross your arms across your chest or put them behind your neck, and then just lift your chest up like that. Now you don't want to look up towards the ceiling because then you can start to pinch things in your neck. So just bring your chest down or your rib cage down to your knees and then lift up from your chest. That locks out your lower back so you're not extending there. And it's just a tiny little movement like that, lifting your chest up. If for some reason you can't do that, you can also do it kind of sitting back in the chair and arching up over the back of the chair. But it's not a big movement this way because there you start to extend through the lower back. So again, it's just a very tiny little movement coming back that way. And that helps you to be able to stand more upright, not by coming up through your lower back, but coming up through your chest and shoulders. Now, when you combine those last two things together, rolling your hips under and then coming up from the chest and shoulders, it makes you more upright without extending through your lower back. Now, there is one additional thing that you need to keep in mind, and that's that the lower back is the easiest place for you to come up. Because of the way that it's naturally already bowed backwards, it's the easiest for you to move there. So that's the most likely place that you'll move. It requires the least energy to come up right through that area. And you'll tend to move in the patterns that are most easy for you to move. So in order to be able to move more from your hips and from your trunk, you actually have to stiffen up this area to tighten your core, which is kind of counterintuitive because when you tighten your core muscles like that, it actually slumps you over a little bit, which is the opposite of what I'm assuming your goal is if you're watching this video. So you want to tighten your core, which does slump you down a little bit, but then come up right through the pelvis, come up right through the shoulders. So you're just moving at different areas instead of moving at your lower back. So those were the three exercises to help you walk more upright and avoid leaning forwards when you walk. Now, I also mentioned that I'd share 3 tips to help you walk better with less back pain, as well as be more stable when you walk. And the first tip is to lean forward. Now, you probably think, well, why are you saying that? You just told me how not to lean forward. Well, this is a little bit different. You don't want to walk leaning forwards like that, but when you're moving, you actually do want your body weight to transfer in front of your feet. A lot of people when they're walking, they'll tend to walk really upright and lean with their feet out in front of their body weight. But the way that physics works, you want to throw your body off balance like that so that you take a small step. And so this tip is actually to lean forwards slightly, just enough that your chest and shoulders are in front of your hips and in front of your feet. And then instead of pulling yourself forward with the front leg, you're actually pushing off this rear leg to take a step. And that brings us to the second point. You want to take smaller steps. And if you take really large steps like this, you're going to overstride. You're going to put your back into an arch like that. So if you take smaller steps, lean forward slightly, then just catch yourself and take smaller steps as you're walking, leaning slightly forwards. That will help you walk a little bit more comfortably. It also decreases your fall risk because when you're taking really large steps, you have to be single leg weight bearing for a long time. And most falls don't happen when you're on 2 feet. They happen when you're on one leg. And so if you're taking really large steps, you have to balance yourself on one leg for a long period of time. And what that ends up doing is if you don't have good strength in your hip, then you're going to tip to one side, which throws you off balance and makes you more likely to fall to the side. So that's the second tip to help you walk with less pain and to be more stable when you're walking. The third tip is to swing your arms. That when you swing your arms naturally when you're walking, you move one arm at the same time as the opposite leg and the other arm at the same time as the opposite leg. And so if you're alternating arms and legs, that gets a little bit of a twisting rotation into your body. And if you're worried about either falling forwards or leaning too far forwards, it helps counterbalance you if one arm is going backwards at the same time as the other one is going forwards. So when you're walking, you want to alternate arms and legs where this arm is moving with this leg and this arm is moving with that leg. So to review those three tips, the first tip is to lean slightly forward when you're walking, just enough to make you take a step. The second tip is to take smaller steps so that you're not overstriding like that. You're just taking tiny little steps, and that also helps you not to be weight bearing on one leg for long periods of time. And then the third tip is to alternate your arm swings so it gives you a little bit more balance as you're walking. Now, if you're watching this from St. Louis and you need some more help to either improve your back pain, improve your balance, or improve your walking mobility, then contact us at More for Life and we'd be happy to help. And if you're watching this from somewhere else, but you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you can get notified of our future videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.